Want to talk about what a lot of healers are going through right now. Because in 2022, I went through something for over 18 months that most people would have quit. And I chose not to quit. Not because it didn't hurt, not because I wasn't afraid, but because the wolves knocking at the door don't get to dictate what's going on inside of the house. If you are new here, my name is Kristen Jones. I'm the founder of Quantum Elimination Reiki and an embodiment coach. And let's talk about an 18-month modern day witch hunt where I decided that the wolves that were knocking at the door were no longer going to dictate what was going on inside of the house. The house is the internal, is me. So let me just paint this picture because I think this is something you're going to relate with. So in 2022, my company was making the kind of impact I had always dreamed of making. I was helping healers all over the world. We were having the time of our life. We were creating transformations that were completely illogical. Healers were coming home to their soul essence. They were stepping into their power. They were stepping into the remembrance. They were remembering who they are, what it is that we're here to do. They were getting their gifts out into the world. And everything was falling into place. But I will never forget I want to say it was August of 2022, when I was driving home with my son after a therapy session that he had. And I got this vision in my mind. Now, I'm a very visual, my clairs are very defined. And my clairaudient is is the strongest one. But I got this vision as we were driving of this massive black snake that was in my peripheral off to my left. And it scared the shit out of me. And I was like, what in the actual crap? And we were just driving on base because at the time we lived on a military installation. My husband's in the Air Force active duty. And as we were heading on base and I'm getting this in my peripheral and I was like, what in the actual heck? And I get home and my husband was already home at the time. He had just got home from work, still standing there in his military uniform. And I was panicked. I was like, oh my God, I'm grabbing the sage and I'm asking him to give me a hug. And I'm like, what is actually happening? But what followed a couple months after, this was just the tip of the iceberg. And I couldn't have even predicted of what this would look like. And this was just the tipping point and the starting point of what I call a modern day witch hunt. Now, raise your hand if you have ever had the fear of being seen, known, or heard as a healer. If you've ever been so freaking afraid to put your gifts out into the world and expand your gifts, but also expand your reach and your visibility because you're afraid of what might happen, what someone on the internet might say, what someone that you went to school with might say, what someone in your inner circle might say. Raise your hand if you've ever experienced that. Because I know I have, and I have a really funny story I'm going to share with you about this in just a little bit. Just hang in there. Yes, Selena says yes. And I've experienced that too. Now, where you see me today, showing up on live, showing up on TikTok lives, creating the videos, creating a world-renowned certification, getting people into their power, that's not where I started, though I've always been pretty bubbly and outgoing, but it doesn't mean that I'm not living with some kind of fear, and especially that fear of being seen, that's that witch wound that comes up, right? And so I had been working on this shifting, and I had gotten to a point where it was like, I feel good. We are being seen. The visibility is there. We're making a global impact. And I was then in a cold day on November 2nd, I think it is. November 4th? I don't even remember the day anymore because we've done the healing work around this. I just remember so vividly, it felt like the tower fell. And it was like all the dominoes from that moment in around August to that point, I watched the flick of the first domino and it just made this zigzag and the tower just fucking fell. And I was shocked at what was going on. Now, at this moment, in this modern day witch hunt, what I began to experience was a spiritual group of people who were stalking me on my website. They were sending hate emails and messages through my website. They were leaving nasty comments and reviews on my newly launched podcast, which came out on 11/11, 24? I mean, it lasted that long. I can't even remember. It started off as The Untamed Healer, and then it is Sacred Whisper now. So we've rebranded. But they were leaving nasty comments on all social media. They were impersonating, and there was just all kinds of crazy things that were happening on a daily basis. And it got to the point where they were making false claims. They were attacking my character. And this story isn't about them, though. This is the story about where I had a decision where it didn't matter if I was in a modern day witch hunt, if I was going through the cyberbullying, the harassment, the constant attack on social media and behind the scenes or not, I was going to rise anyway. The intention of them was for me to not just show up online. And if you know anything about me, if not, welcome to the corner of the internet where it doesn't matter what anybody says. It doesn't matter about the jesters and the cheap seats. It doesn't matter about the wolves knocking at the door, because you get to decide who you are and you get to stand in your power regardless of what anybody is saying or doing. So I remember navigating this, and it got even to the point where I would be opening up the back end of my website, and I could see the location of people, and I knew where most of them were living, and I could see them on my website going through each of the pages and how long they were on there. And it really was disruptive to my nervous system, because even though I decided, LOL, you don't get a say in who it is that I am, you don't get a say in how it is that I show up, you don't get a say on my domain name or what I have on my website, I get that say. Even though I knew I was in my power around that and I was firm about my vision, my mission, my purpose, and my passion, there was still a part of me that felt afraid, that was hesitant to get my work out into the world, that was hesitant to take some of the next steps that I knew I needed to take, especially when it comes to quantum illumination Reiki. I was very intentional about the pausing that I did from fear and taking a look at what that looked like, but also from a space of protection. Because to me, it felt like in those moments, I was back in the 1600s and I was being dragged to the platform to be burned at the stake for my gifts, my abilities, being seen, being heard, being known. And I had moments after that I was like, is it safe for me to continue this? And the irony of all of this was, at the time I was launching a program that I had that's called the Rising Phoenix. And so, yeah, I understand the irony in all of this. But I was like, is it safe for me to talk about some of these things? Because this is directly correlated with some of the topics that I'm going through right now. But I had a decision that I needed to make. I could continue to let this rule my life. And it got to the point where I would brace myself before I would open up my email, before I would open up my messages, before I would open up YouTube, before I would check my reviews on my podcast. I would sit and I would send in to Apple Podcasts for fake and scam reviews that were untrue with evidence backing on what was actually going on. There were so many things that I was just bracing myself for, because I went from being so afraid to be seen as a healer and being judged as a healer for my gifts, for doing Reiki, for doing Oracle card readings, for talking about spirit guides, and even meditation. I feel like at the beginning, I was like, is it safe for me to talk about this online? Are people going to think this is weird, right? To fully being in my power, to feeling like the rug was ripped from beneath me and it was like, whoop, and face planted right into the concrete. And again, I had a decision to make. And to this day, even though it's been a while, because this went on for not just like 18 solid months, but even over a few years later, every now and then, typically during Mercury retrograde, go figure. But when you know, you know. If you know, you know. But even though I was going through those situations, I needed to give myself permission to to not just rise, because the phoenix continues to rise. I mean, my website is And She Rises, right? Okay, I see the irony here. And the phoenix, and there's this quote that's, and still I rise. And what the phoenix does is it burns away everything and it goes down to the bare bones, right? And then it rises again. And it's in this consistent evolution of the phoenix where it's like rise and then burn away, rise and then burn away, rise and burn away. And I don't believe that we ever hit the floor again. I believe it gets to be this constant rise. And also, it got to a point where it was like, I'm kind of done with the burning part. I'm kind of done with the burning part. I'm kind of done with the fear of being seen. I'm kind of done where it doesn't matter what so-and-so is saying. It doesn't matter what the spiritual group of people is saying. It doesn't matter what's going on. I'm not just going to rise anyway. I'm just going to take a seat at the throne. Because I realized through all of this that my home, me, within, I had come home to me in a way that I never had before. I learned so much about myself, and I had built this. I had returned to me. And this continues to be an evolution, right? Some people call an identity shift this whole big life process. I call it a Tuesday. And so for me, I realized, and this is where where I talk so much about the eye of the storm energy. I decided this is the energy I'm going to be in because I had built this home within myself. I decided no one, nothing can take away what it is that I have built within. No one can disrupt the only person that can disrupt my inner peace and my inner knowing is me. Is maybe even the subconscious patterns and thoughts, which that's a whole nother conversation that we can dive into. And if I've already built this queendom, which is nothing external of us, it's internal, then I can just take a seat at the throne. The keys have been given to me. My soul's like, boop, higher self, spirit team is like, here you go. And I can just take that seat. I can claim the crown and I can decide who gets access to the kingdom. I can decide that the wolves knocking at the gates, knocking at the door don't get access. I can decide that the jesters are in the cheap seats and they don't get a say of what's going on. Have you ever been to a concert or anything of that where maybe it's outdoors and you're clear in the back and you know your voice is making an impact when you are with thousands of other people? But if you were to yell by yourself and you're clear in the back at an outdoor auditorium, it's kind of like you're probably not really heard. It just is kind of like this faint voice. And that's where I see about it. And that's the viewpoint that I see when it comes to the people in the cheap seats. It's like, what? Sorry, I can't hear you. And you might actually be seeing these people or they might actually be face to face with you where it's like, I don't actually believe in what you're doing, or can you actually do this? And you're thinking, well, what will people say? And then they say it, right? And then it's like, okay, well, they said it. But can we just make it be noise? And this is where we have the opportunity to have the audacity to show up anyway. We love the rising phoenix energy. We love the sitting on the throne and claiming your crown and allowing the wolves to just continue to knock at the doors because I can't even hear them up here. And also, can you have the audacity to go? When I think of audacity, I'm like, who the F do you think you are? Kind of vibes, right? It's kind of like, who the F do I think I am? Who do I know I am? And taking a seat in that, and it's not loud. It is a calm knowing. It's a centered knowing. It's the eye of the storm. Yes. Yeah, I love that image. I love that. It's that eye of the storm energy. It's seeing the destruction going on. It's seeing all of the things thrashing around you, the opinions, the unhelpful people with their words. It's seeing the projections, and it's knowing that I'm going to respond, not react. I'm going to observe and not even respond. because not everything needs a response. Sometimes no response is a response, which is something I've learned so much in the last year or so. It's like sometimes no, especially as healers, we have this thing with boundaries. And no is a complete sentence, but sometimes no response is a response. And that's okay. And so here's what I learned. I know this was kind of like a short version of the 18-month modern day witch hunt. But here's what I learned about, or here's what I learned from being in that 18-month modern day witch hunt was the wolves don't get the final say. The wolves don't go away until you stop giving them a final say. The wolves don't get a final say, but the wolves won't go away until you stop giving them the final say. The wolves can be, I know a lot of people call it the inner critic. I actually used to call it the inner mean girl, but I don't believe that's true anymore. It's actually not anything I get behind anymore and it's funny because I had a program many years ago I think it was called Inner Mean Girl or something like that, where we talked about really what's happening from a subconscious level. And the wolves can be the actual people that you are afraid of judging you for your gifts, your abilities, what it is that you're doing in your healing business, what it is that you choose to get trained in, what it is that you are choosing to do with your life. The wolves could be even your subconscious mind, where it's consistent, it has your best interest in mind, literally, but figuratively. It has your best interest at heart, and it's constantly scanning for the threat, and it feels like the inner mean girl. It feels like an inner bitch. It feels like an inner critic, but it's actually well-meaning, and we can learn a lot about ourselves when we have the opportunity to see what the inner mind is saying and shift it for ourselves, because now we close the tab, we close the unhelpful thought pattern, we close the limiting belief that was never yours to begin with. And now we free up so much space for your confidence, your power, your intuition, your creativity, your gifts, your joy, your bliss, everything that makes the human experience so amazing, and continue to have the audacity to show up in the way that you are meant to anyway. And there's a few things else around this specific topic. When you close those tabs, you stop having the refresh reflex. Say that 10 times fast. The refresh reflex, where you're opening up, maybe you go to post something and you are like, oh, this is going to be the perfect post, but then you are like, let me change it. And you're like, can I actually say this? Or can I actually do this? Or I don't know if I actually can go there. And then you finally have the audacity to post it. And then it's like, okay, now what? Can I actually go there? Did I do that? And then it's like, let me pick up my phone every 5 minutes and refresh. And who liked it and who commented, and oh man, it didn't reach. Oh shit, it did reach. Or oh man, it's going viral. I had a couple different posts go viral, and I was like, well, damn, I didn't expect that. And it brought in amazing people. And sometimes when you go viral, it does bring in some people with opinions. And that's okay. That is okay. I'm not immune to people being people on the interwebs. I just don't let it affect me. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting perspective. Block, delete. It really does get to be that simple, but it doesn't feel that simple when the wolves are knocking at the door, when the external wolves are knocking at the door, but also internally when your subconscious mind is reading it as a threat, right? So the refresh reflex. And then watering down yourself to be more palatable. This topic specifically has come up several times. And if you are not in our free community, go join our free community. Link is in my bio. It's called Rain Era. It's our free community for healers. This month, we're really diving into embodiment. And this about watering yourself down to be more palatable. No. Because when we're watering ourselves down, when you're watering yourself down, what's happening is you're watering down your voice. You're watering down your power. You're watering down your intuition. You're watering down what somebody else is going to receive. Now, this doesn't mean go be an asshole on the internet, but it does mean, because there's definitely some hot takes that I have that I'm like, whoo, Somebody's got to say this. I'm going to say it, but I can also say it not in a way that's being a hole in the internet, but it's more of a, ooh, I can see that this is actually misaligned. And I think that other people this is going to land with people, right? Or it's just like anything. It's just like where you are. Maybe you're saying I'm an energy healer instead of claiming, no, I'm a Reiki healer. Maybe this is maybe it's actually saying what it is that you do instead of watering it down so other people can understand you. I cannot tell you the amount of people that I will go up. Oh, thank you so much, Selena. Rain era is very powerful right now. Yes. Listen, I'll talk about this in just a second, but she had to take a little bit of a backseat over the last, like in May or something like that. I'll talk about that in a second. But yes. So it's whenever I go out into the real world, as I call it, it's very funny. So my husband is in the military and he's seeing all aspects of the very real things and also amongst people all day, right? And thousands of interactions on a daily basis where I'm in my spiritual world bubble and my high thinkers bubble. Mercury retrograde has got me in a chokehold. We're getting there. And it's very fascinating when I go out into the world and people are like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, I'm the founder of Quantum Illumination Reiki, the newest, most powerful style of Reiki to date. Are you familiar with energy work? And also just say something very simple like that, because some people will be like, oh yeah, I know what Reiki is, or tell me more. Or I'll tell them, I'm the founder of Quantum Illumination Reiki. I support healers in coming home to their soul essence through embodiment and identity work. And I'm an international speaker. And people look at me like I have 4 heads. It's very, very entertaining. But I just got to the point where it was like, I don't really care what it is that is the reaction is, because I know me. I know me. I know who I am. And however they're perceiving what it is that you are saying doesn't matter, because it's not about you. It's not about you. Our only job is to close the tab. That's a big theme for me in July. Close the tab. The fear of judgment, close. The fear of being seen, delete. The fear or boundaries, letting people cross your boundaries and people pleasing, close that tab. And we close those tabs. And again, it's that audacity to show up exactly how you are and who it is that you are. And oh my gosh, this is so funny. I really should find this video. I have. So I am working on a secret project behind the scenes. Some of you may know because I have leaked this a little bit in a few different places. But I was reflecting back on when I first got trained in Reiki. I'm a multi-Reiki master in traditional Reiki, in addition to being the founder, channel, and originator of Quantum Illumination Reiki. And when I got trained in traditional Reiki and I was shifting my company, my business, from health and life coaching to spiritual coaching and offering Reiki sessions and oracle card readings, first of all, I got called out by my spiritual bestie. We were spiritual awakening besties. So my spiritual bestie at the time. And she was like, what do you mean? You've been trained as a multi-Reiki master for 9 or 10 months and you haven't put this on the internet yet. What? Go do it. And so I put my kids to bed. They were really little at the time. And I just remember sitting in my Zen den in our house in South Dakota and feeling like I needed to change my shirt about 3 times because I kept sweating through it. I kept fumbling over my words. It took me an hour to do a 3-minute video for Instagram. 3 minutes. And I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube still. I need to see if it's hidden or if it's still there. I'm not 100% sure, but I fell upon it one day, I don't know, a couple months ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, there she is. Oh, I have chills. I'm like, I'm so proud of you for continuing to show up. But it's that very real of, do I say energy work or do I say Reiki? If I say Reiki, will people know what that means? Am I explaining this correctly? Am I articulating it in a way that is going to be received? Will people look at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? Or will it be received? And so I was so freaking scared. And I was honestly so frustrated too, because I was like, oh my God, why is it taking me so long? But the truth was, I wasn't taught how to properly articulate that. So I had no idea. So I just had to figure it out. It's called that phrase, what is it? Failing forward. Let me just fail my way to figuring it out. And then here we are, however many years later. But it's those moments where you go to try to articulate something that it is that you're doing in the healing world where, let's be honest, it's not tangible work that we're doing. It's a skill to learn how to articulate that, and you just do it by doing it. And so it's those moments where you've gone to try to explain what it is that you do, or your interests, or your training, or your offerings, or your sessions, or your mentorship, and you're fumbling all over yourself, and it takes an hour to create a 3-minute video, and you're like, oh my God, I've just sweat through 3 shirts and I'm thirsty and I feel like I'm gonna bang my head against the wall, right? And so it's just having the audacity to continue to show up anyway, to continue to just do it, to continue to just move forward, right? But in the same breath, and also in the same breath, it's those fears feel very real. Your subconscious mind is deeming things as a threat. And a lot of us struggle with past life fears as well, being burned at the stake or stoned to death, or had very real past life experiences that our soul came here in this lifetime to hear, clear, and release. And we can do that through the human experience. And we can do that through subconscious work and 5D level work and quantum level work with ease, with a way that doesn't require you to do 100 more hours of journaling about the inner child and going and taking your inner child out for lunch and doing more traditional Reiki and doing more of the same. Isn't that the definition of insanity? You're already doing the healing work and you're still like, I'm afraid of being seen, heard, and known. What are they going to say? And then that imposter syndrome creeps in, and it's like, who am I to get this out into the world, right? And it's not, I was talking about this on TikTok, I don't know, a couple days ago, I think, where it was new level, new devil is bullshit. It's it's new level, same devil. It doesn't matter if you are brand new in your healing business or you're brand new to the healing world, or you've been in it for decades and you have thousands of customers and clients from all over the world. My hands are literally vibrating right now. I remember, and I'll share a little bit of this story. That same fear that was coming up when it took me an hour to record a 3-minute video was the same fear that I had last year, a week before I got on an international stage to speak. It's the same thoughts. It's the same pattern. It's the same cycle. I've just been doing it longer. And it's just showing up in a different way that now I have an opportunity, because now I'm seeing it differently from a different angle. And so now I can just clear. And I literally did that. I remember I was steaming my gown that maybe you guys have seen. Currently, it's in my Instagram bio. It's that gown. It's a goddess gown. It's amazing. I might sneeze here in just a second. Give me a sec. I'm one of those that sneezes usually a minimum of 10 times. Anyway. Excuse me. But I was steaming my gown and I was listening to my program called Alchemize, because it speaks language that speaks directly to your subconscious mind through specific words, phrases, hypnosis, visuals, and it's also infused with QIR. So I'm listening to that as I am scanning, and then I'm checking for the feeling as well. Let's get rid of this. And so, yes, it's all very real. So before I dive into what is Rain Era, Audacity isn't the absence of fear. It's moving anyway. It's seeing the fear and choosing to go anyway. It's posting the unedited version of you. We're not trying to be more palatable for anyone. We're not watering it down. Unedited, raw, real, go. It's saying who you are and what it is that you're here to do. If you're in our certification program, it's saying, I'm a quantum illumination Reiki healer, quantum illumination Reiki master healer. Selena, I'm looking at you. Or master, or teacher. To heal within the 5D and the quantum levels and owning it. Or whatever it is, if you're a tarot reader, if you are a Reiki healer, if you are a mentor, a spiritual mentor, it's saying it. without watering it down and doing it imperfectly because it'll eventually. I remember last year when I went to, this actually really surprised me. So last year I went to Brendan Burchard Growth Day event in Austin, Texas, and it was freaking awesome. And I just happened to be finding all the actual healers in the room, which was hilarious because we all just magnetize each other, which was the weirdest thing, but we just find each other. And it's just I just practice articulating who I am and what it is that I'm doing. And then even when I went to Abraham Hicks Live in November, when I was sharing what I do, people were very confused. They kind of looked at me with the four heads thing. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because I feel like Abraham Hicks is very much in the spiritual realm. It's in the spiritual community. And I'm like, huh, interesting. So I would just play with the articulation until it landed with people. And that's it. And so it's saying who you are and allowing yourself to fail forward and having the audacity to show up. Anyway, I feel it in my heart. And so with Rain Era, just kind of going back to this because it doesn't creep me anymore. We always do this. You will say something and then I'll be like, I'm going to go live. And then I answer your questions, Lena. So with Rain Era. So in May, we launched in March for our free community for healers. If you are not in there, it is a whole vibe. This month, we are talking all things embodiment. And I've got each week planned out. Of course, I'll pop in there whenever I feel like it to add more value in there. But yes, we're diving into embodiment. And then next month, we're diving into ascension. We launched in March and it was so much fun. We had a lot going on in there. And then May hit where I was getting everything together for our teacher authorization program. I was doing all the legality stuff at the mid-April and beginning of May. And then I was like, okay, green light, go. Once I couldn't create anything until I had the legalities in place and the correct articulation from my attorney. And then once I got that green light, I was like, okay, we've got to record this. Let's get this together. It's 56 total steps. It's like, I don't know, there's 6 videos, but there's so much value packed in there for our teachers so that when they are ready to go teach, they can with ease. And so I was like, something's got to take a back seat. We should really work on our timing, yes. And so, yes, Rain Era, free community. Okay, let me scroll and then I'm going to share something else with you. I'd post it and put the phone away at least for some hours. Yes, exactly. Post and put it away. And then close the tab. That's my anchor. That's one of my anchors this month. Close the tab. There's I said that to myself today, actually. Close the tab. It doesn't need to be open. Why is it open? Well, I know why it's open. I don't need to dig into it again. I'm just going to close the tab. And then I hopped into what it was that I said I was going to do. I'm like, ooh, unhelpful thought pattern. Ooh, this is a fear. What is this actually about? Or what are you trying to tell me? Okay, got it. Now I'm hopping into one of the programs that I have, or it's Alchemize, or I'm doing self QIR, and then I'm going and doing the thing. Because the truth is, you're at the point where it's just like, I'm done entertaining this shit. I'm done entertaining it. So something is coming for the healer who is done being hidden. For the healer who is ready to stop entertaining the wolves that are knocking at the door, the people that are sitting in the cheap seats, the jesters that don't get access to the kingdom anyway. This is for you to stand in your audacity, to remember who you are and what it is that you are here to do, but with the internal power to do so. I have never done anything like this before, and I've never done it. If I'm honest, I've never done it at this price point either. But if any of this landed for you and you were like, yeah, I'm definitely struggling with the fear of being seen, heard, or known, and no matter what level you are at, if you have been thinking about that imposter syndrome that keeps creeping in where it's like, can I actually do this? Am I capable of doing this? What does this look like? What steps do I need to take? Then this is for you. I haven't announced everything fully, but we do have, I'm definitely thinking I'm going to max it out at 10 just because I want to keep it at an intimate space. But More information to follow, but if you want the early tea, just DM me Audacity and let's chat about these details. I have a feeling that this is going to I have a feeling that this is going to fill quickly when I release the full details. So if you want in, or if you want the information, just DM me. I'm happy to send that your way. I have my notes in front of me. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Going through these program makes you laugh when you're hearing unhelpful thoughts. Hashtag alchemize. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Alchemize is, I love that program. I haven't talked about that a whole lot lately, but that program is so freaking awesome. Literally, it's the program where you can have me in your pocket and you don't have to meditate. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You just pop me in your ear. Like I said, I was listening to Alchemize to clear the fear of being seen and what was it? The fear of being judged while I was ironing, or I was actually steaming my dress. I was doing other things. I was living my life while I was listening to it and closing the tab. And we're going to do that together in this program too. So yeah, Selena, let's chat. You can send me the message and then tomorrow or whatever, we can talk about it. So I'm really excited about this. Let me know how this lands. Make sure you comment. You can also come into the DMs, chat with me about it. Let me know. Did any of these land for you? Have you ever experienced a modern day witch hunt? Have you noticed any of these unhelpful thoughts come up? Have you noticed imposter syndrome and the fear of being seen? No matter where you are in your business, already wide awake. I have this tendency to do that with you, don't I? Oh my God, I love it. I'll message you afterwards. And yes, so I want to hear from you guys. I want to come hang out with me in the DMs too. I would love to chat with you about whatever it is. And I love this. I'm going to try to go live more on Instagram now. Now that my certification program is fully built, all 3 levels, and the teacher authorization program, I'm like, what can I do with my time? I'm like, let's go live. Let's go live on TikTok. If you're not on TikTok, I do free healings over there. I'm looking for a couple weeks or a couple times a week. So come hang out there too. I'm the same handle on all the places. So it's easy to find me. I think my profile picture is different there though. I don't ever think I updated it to this one, but yes. I love it. Okay. Have the most amazing rest of your day. Let me know how this lands. I will see you guys very soon. And yeah, just let me know how this landed for you because I would love to hear from you. Bye.